Trump media. Thank you for being with us. By the way, Laura Ingraham is next. All right, so Clarence Thomas one night, then we got the president the next night. Anybody else you're going to, outshadow us with these phenomenal bookings? By the way, I saw the interview. Great interview.
Well, you're a movie producer with a fancy director chair and like a cocktail in your hand. And a rapper. I'd love to, Sean, I would pay for you to do a live rap throw to me one night. And I'll try to do a rap back.
I'll tell you what.
That would be sick.
I am going to do one. We're not going to tell people when. I will do a live rap to Laura Ingraham, who's now taking over the show. Laura, have a great night.
All right, Sean, thanks. And good evening from Washington. We have a powerful show tonight, including the latest invective and now violent imagery directed at President Trump, and an in-depth look into the left's double standard when it comes to women and some controversial comments from Michelle Obama. But first, we begin with our exclusive interview with President Trump. Earlier today, I sat down with him at the White House for a wide-ranging interview. Mr. President, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Today, the tax plan announced, and it's interesting. You're getting hit from the left and some on the right. Rand Paul's going to vote for it, I think, but he said it's not significant because the upper income tier doesn't get a lot of tax rate relief or any. And then Ron Wyden calls it basically a middle class con job. It's not really a tax cut for the middle class. So left and right.
Well, they're big tax cuts, the biggest cuts in the history of our country, actually. We have reform, we have simplification. And honestly, I'm surprised a little bit to hear what you're saying, because we've really gotten great reviews. People are loving it. Even a certain newspaper that I don't like very much came out today, and they gave Schumer four Pinocchios. And they said because he was not telling the truth when it came to the middle class, because he said it's for the rich, and it's really not for the rich. It's for the middle class, and it's for jobs. And I would say maybe even in that order. So the middle class is a big beneficiary. Jobs and companies are big beneficiaries, but the companies really create the jobs. And we really have, Laura, we've had tremendous receptivity to it, to a point that I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. So, and I do think Rand Paul, by the way, who I like, I think he's going to vote for it.
Hillary Clinton said last night that paying for the dossier, she defended it basically, and said it's different from meeting with Russians, like meeting with Russians. She was trying to make a comparison, but saying, oh no, she totally defended it.
Well, she talked about Oppo research is wonderful, Oppo research, and but not when it comes to us, okay? Oppo research for us, of course, is no good. No, that dossier, which is totally fake and made up, it's like a novel, but that dossier is a disgrace, and it should not have been allowed to be used. And then I hear the kind of money they spent.
$9 million.
I mean, it's inconceivable. It's absolutely inconceivable. It's horrible.
But we don't know who authorized payment. We don't really yet have.
Well, they're trying to find out, and we'll find out. But they really, I think it's a disgrace that a thing like that can take place.
Donna Brazile, in her new book, writes about the DNC Democrat primary rigging and talks about corruption, internal corruption, and unethical finances. And she tags Hillary Clinton. Are you surprised about this, given what you said about Bernie Sanders being given the short shrift?
I think it's a major story. Now, I don't know if the mainstream fake media, because they are fake and phony, but I just don't know if they're going to pick it up. But I want to tell you, that is a big story, what you're saying. It's illegal, number one, and it's really very unfair to Bernie Sanders. I'm not a Bernie Sanders fan, although I must say I got a lot of his votes. When he was thrown out, many of those people voted for me because of trade, because I agreed with him in trade. We're just doing more about it than he can do, and we're doing a lot about it. But I thought that was terrible.
The justice system, a joke and a laughing stock, you said the other day. What were you?
Well, when I look at immigration and I look at this whole thing coming in by lottery, and then we can't do anything about it quickly, and I look at what's going on with justice when it comes to so many different topics, I
criminal
really
justice?
feel,
You're talking about criminal justice issues?
A lot of justice. This guy would be tied up forever in the court system. You look at some of the cases that are going on forever, and you have them dead to right. Now, the justice system has to go quicker, and it has to be really stronger and fairer. Probably has to be fairer, too. But it's very sad when you look at a lottery system and you have people coming into the country through the form of a lottery. And, you know, the countries, just so you understand, the countries aren't putting their finest in there. They're not putting their best and their greatest and their finest in there. And this kid came in through a lottery system that's going to end, and it's going to end fast. In fact, I've already instructed Congress they must end it. And I think we're going to get even Democrat support on this.
You had DACA talks today for the Dreamers. And
I did.
Your base and what you campaigned on was real common sense policies. You talked about E-Verify, building the wall, chain migration, which is a huge problem.
All of those things are happening.
And is that going to be part of any DACA deal? So if the Democrats want Dreamer help, they're going to have to do. They're going to have to do E-Verify chain migration.
Sure. Chain migration is one of the most important things that most people.
Is that a requirement for you?
Until yesterday, most people never heard of chain migration. I gave a form of a press conference, and I started talking about chain migration. And this horrible animal, he's an animal as far as I'm concerned, 23 people have touched him, maybe came in because he was in, and he was only in with a green card, supposedly. But chain migration, where his whole family comes in, his mother can come in, his father, his grandmother, everybody comes in. Chain migration is a disaster for this country, and it's going to end. Now, I've been talking about it for a while, but I think the public until yesterday probably never heard about chain migration.
Well, the Republicans didn't want to touch it for a long time. You've held up a mirror to what the Republicans weren't doing.
They're touching it now. It's become a very, very strong point right now.
Will it be part of a Dreamer deal, a DACA deal?
It'll be part of a DACA deal. DACA's a lot different than Dreamer.
I mean, for the deferred action for childhood arrivals, will you require that if any amnesty talks will require chain migration to
I don't
end?
think any Republican would vote for anything having to do with leaving chain migration. Chain migration is a disaster for this country, and it's horrible. I mean, just take a look at him. 23 people, potentially 23 people.
Is that verified?
It's what I heard. It's what I gave. Whether it's 23 or whether it's 2, as far as I'm concerned.
That's a big difference, though, 2 or 23.
No, I know that. But I hear it's 23. It's a lot of people.
The wall. And I was at rallies. So that's what people, like, they want that wall
it's
built.
one of the things, but we're going to have a wall.
But Paul Ryan said $1.4 billion he would start. Perhaps that number's been thrown out. But that's a pittance.
Phase 1 during the well, first of all, they're saying the wall's going to cost $40 billion. It's not going to cost anywhere near that. The Democrats are saying we're talking about less than half. Also, you don't have a wall. You have 2,000 miles. You have mountains. You have rivers. You have things that you don't put the wall on. You don't need them. Never was planned for that. No, I think for $18 billion or less, we're going to have a great wall. We're doing prototypes right now. We're going to make the choice. We have the people from Border Patrol and ICE working with us very closely because ultimately they're the ones that are going to have to use it. One of the things that's come up pretty strongly is we want to have vision through the wall because you want to see what's on the other side of the wall. You know, you think we're going to build a nice, simple concrete wall, but it's not that simple. No, we're having the wall. We have to have the wall. We need the wall for another reason, drugs. Drugs are pouring into our country. A lot of them are coming in through the southern border, and the wall will be a tremendous tool to help facilitate the ending of the drugs coming in. No, the wall is actually coming along pretty well. That will also be a part of DACA or whatever.
But a down payment or a guaranteed funding?
Well, look, when we get the down payment, we're going to have a guarantee. Believe me, we're not taking a down payment and then say, where's the rest of the money?
That can be a scam as well.
Because, you know, you don't spend all the money immediately. So we can put it back. But when we take a down payment, I'm going to say, I want to make sure the rest of the money is coming.
You're heading off to Asia, huge trip.
Yeah.
Lots of stakes. You got North Korea, deal with the Chinese. You're going to stop in Seoul. Your State Department still has some unfilled positions. Are you worried that the State Department doesn't have enough Donald Trump nominees in there to push your vision through? Because other State Departments, including Reagan's at times, undermined his agenda. And there is a concern that the State Department currently is undermining your agenda.
So we don't need all the people that they want. You know, don't forget, I'm a business person, and I tell my people, well, you don't need to fill slots, don't fill them. But we have some people that I'm not happy with their
But
thinking
Assistant
process.
Secretary of State, you're not getting rid of that position.
But let me tell you, the one that matters is me. I'm the only one that matters because when it comes to it, that's what the policy is going to be. You've seen that. You've seen it strongly. We're filling up roles. And don't forget, Schumer and the Democrats are just obstructing. You can't get anything through. We have almost about half the number of people coming through as Obama had. But in addition to that, we don't need all of the people. You know, it's called cost saving. You know, in the old days.
But you want your vision pushed.
I want my vision, but my vision is my vision anyway. It's called cost saving. There's nothing wrong with cost saving. Rex is in there working hard. He's doing his best. He's doing the best he can.
Is he going to be with you for the duration?
Well, we'll see. I don't know who's going to be. Duration, I think the duration, I tell you this. I don't think any president in 9 months has done the job that we've done. And that includes bills being passed by Congress. You look at what's passed by the Senate, by the House. I think we're close to 70 bills, maybe over 70 bills. It's almost a record. You look at all of the deregulation. You look at Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch. You look at all of the other district judges, federal district judges and Court of Appeals judges. I don't think, and then, of course, take a look at the economy.
Look at the economy.
Take a look.
Are you getting the credit for this economic revival without your tax cut yet through, without Obamacare repeal yet? And this is a stunning economic revival in 10 months.
One of the greatest in the history of our country. And I'm in here now 10 months. And we are setting record after record, day after day. I think we hit another one today. No, I'm not getting enough credit for it because a lot of the reason is enthusiasm level, business level, and also the fact that I've cut regulations to the extent that I've cut them. I mean, I could tell you jobs that were never going to get built are now being built. Take a look at the pipelines, the Keystone Pipeline, the Dakota Access Pipeline. I mean, every day we're hitting new highs. Very important GDP. You take a look, GDP 3.2, and now 3. And the last one was after 4 or 5 really, obviously, horrible hurricanes. And that's the equivalent of a point. So that would have been a 4. A 4 was unthinkable. And each time we go up a point, that's $2.5 trillion and thousands, I mean, millions of jobs, actually. The thing I'm most proud about, companies are starting to come back into our country. They were leaving.
Repatriating.
They are coming
American
back in.
companies.
And one of the things about our taxes, you talk about repatriation, we're bringing in probably, I think the number is going to be over $4 trillion coming back into our country.
Speaking of, you're going to do China enforcement on this trip. Tell China intellectual property theft, the subsidies, dumping in our country.
Yeah.
Are you going to be tough on the enforcement side, given what they're doing to this country?
You have to understand something very important. We have a problem called North Korea.
But you're going to you delinked it with Korea, with South Korea's trade deficit.
Well, we're going to see. But we have one problem that's a very big problem. It's called North Korea. China has been helpful. We are talking trade with China. But I am also, it's not just, you're not in a total vacuum. And President Xi has been pretty terrific. Most people have been saying, whether it's cutting the banking system off from North Korea, whether it's cutting the oil down to North Korea, cutting supplies down. And I must tell you, North Korea is a thing that I think we will solve. And if we don't solve it, it's not going to be very pleasant for them. It's not going to be very pleasant, I guess, for anybody. But China is helping us.
Japan's worried. They're worried.
Well, of course they're worried. They should be worried. They're very close to North Korea.
They want a nuclear pledge from the United States if they go after Japan.
Japan is a warrior nation.
Yeah.
And I tell China and I tell everyone else that listens, you're going to have yourself a big problem with Japan pretty soon if you allow this to continue with North Korea.
Are you going to make any pledges to Japan to defend them?
Well, look, they're an ally.
Capacity?
They're an ally. The Prime Minister is a very good friend of mine. Prime Minister Abe, I've become very close. I've become very, very close to President Xi of China. I think a lot of good things are going to happen. I think it's a very important trip. I think this is one of the more important trips that a president has made.
You don't like traveling, though, right? You're not a big fan of traveling.
I don't love it, but I think it's important. I'm going to China. I'm going to Japan, South Korea. I'm then going to Vietnam, where we have a tremendous trade conference, and we're starting to do well in trade. Look, NAFTA is a disaster. NAFTA is killing us, and we're renegotiating. You're
going to talk to him on this trip?
We may have a meeting with Putin. And again, Putin is very important because they can help us with North Korea.
Syria?
They can help us with Syria. We have to talk about Ukraine.
Are you having fun in this job?
I am. I love it. Well, there's been a lot of false reporting that I'm angry about things.
I've never seen you angry. I've known you for 14 years.
No, I think the press is fake. A lot of the media is fake. But so you could say there's a certain anger there, but it's not really anger. It's really amazement how dishonest, when you get right down, how dishonest the news is. But
your family's adjusting
I am really, I think my family's been treated unfairly. I think that Ivanka's been treated very unfairly, frankly. Melania is really just powering through it. She's been incredible. People love Ivanka. People love Melania. And, they go through it. But I do think the family's been treated a little bit unfairly. In the end, what is very nice is we really have, I don't think, I'm not saying this in a braggadocious way, I don't think over a period of 9 or 10 months there's been any president in the beginning of their presidency that's done anywhere close. When you think about regulations and Supreme Court and so many different things and stock markets and the economy.
I like the fact that you're impatient for change in a city that is slow moving and moves at a glacial pace. And that's something you got from the business.
Well, and
you're impatient for change.
And the most important thing that we're going to be doing is tax cuts. Tax cuts, if we get this through, and I think we will, you're going to see this economy take off like a rocket ship.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you very
President.
much.
I really appreciate all the time.
It. Thank you.
Thank you. And up next, reaction to our interview with the president from both sides. Plus, later, a part of that interview you didn't see. We asked the president about the entertainment industry's incessant attacks on him.
I think it's disgraceful, but we power forward.
And welcome back. We continue now with our reaction to this exclusive interview we just played for you with President Trump. Just moments ago, the president reacting to something I asked him in our interview, the claim by former acting DNC chair Donna Brazile that Hillary Clinton effectively rigged the Democratic nomination. The president tweeting, Donna Brazile just stated the DNC rigged the system to illegally steal the primary from Bernie Sanders. Bought and paid for by crooked Hillary. Joining us now for reaction is Molly Hemingway, a senior editor at The Federalist and Fox News contributor, and Congressman Brad Sherman, a Democrat from California. Great to see both of you. Congressman, what's your reaction to what President Trump said specifically about the DNC allegation that Donna Brazile makes in her new book about what Mrs. Clinton did to perhaps disenfranchise Bernie Sanders?
Well, the president doesn't want to talk about it. The details of his tax plan wants to shift over to here.
Well, he did talk about that. We're going to get to that. But on this issue first, we're going to get to the tax plan.
When you talk about a job-killing, deficit-exploding tax plan that's going to crush our economic growth, and you want to get a shift over to the fact that the DNC maybe favored Hillary, you know what? The RNC didn't favor Trump, favored his opponents. It was rigged both ways. He often talked about how the Republican Party was rigged. The fact of the matter is, I don't think it influenced things very much. And if you look at the details of what Donna Brazile is talking about, it's mostly how she was constrained in her efforts to build state and local party organizations. There were not expenditures from the DNC that helped Hillary before the nomination. But look, we've known for a long time.
But so you're just,
and Bernie was very aware, and I campaigned with him, and he was campaigning.
I just think it's fascinating that Democrats, after all this time and dealing with all this muck from the Clintons, you guys still defend him. Like, after all this time, they've put the party through an impeachment. He lost his bar license. You had the era of big government is over thing with the Republicans. Then it was on to one of the most embarrassing losses for a Democratic candidate that I can remember. And you all still carry water for Hillary, even people who like Bernie. I mean, that to me is stunning.
It also seems that this piece was a really strong signal that people are sick of Hillary Clinton, that they wish she weren't out there so much. I mean, this is the type of piece that Donna Brazile knew all this going, throughout the entire campaign. Yeah. She kept quiet about it until now. The reason why it's coming out now is not just that she has a book coming out, but also that there's safety in going after Hillary Clinton. And there's frustration, I think, in how Hillary mismanaged her campaign and just caused general problems for the party.
It's interesting that Congressman Sherman, he's making the Democrat case against the tax cut. Rand Paul actually today on my radio show made a conservative kind of criticism about the tax plan. Let's listen. Let's watch.
We are going to have an immediate cut to 20% in the corporate tax rate, and that's going to be huge. For the individuals, it's not as good as I would like. I would like to see every individual up and down get a lower rate, and particularly on the top part of the spectrum, because the top part of the spectrum pays most of the taxes.
Yeah, I'm getting hammered.
You do not cut the top 1%, you don't really have a significant tax cut.
Not a significant tax cut. There are a lot of concerns. I'm getting a lot of ping, ping, ping. This is not real. This is not real tax cutting, because the people who pay most of the taxes, of course, are the upper income earners.
It's not to say that there aren't really good things in this bill. There are, but this is not that dramatic. I mean, I think people were looking for something really big, dramatic reform,
and it's
really big in its ability to destroy our economy by taking $1.5 trillion out of the capital pool. unavailable for investment by business.
What is it's going to be spent? What are you talking about? We're going to each family is going to get $1,180 back from this. So you don't believe that? So you believe that the economy is going to plummet because of this?
This is a
tax
dramatic reduction in investment in infrastructure, a dramatic reduction in money available for business expansion.
So you don't think there'll be growth?
And it's going to cut the value of homes by 10%, according to the Moody's study just for these. 10% cut in home values in major metropolitan areas.
So you actually think the economy will? You think? I just want to understand. You think the economy, after this tax cut is passed, and it will be, it's some form like this, it will actually contract? Our GDP
no, I'm
will
saying
shrink?
That the rate of economic growth, the anemic 2 to 2.5%.
What we had under Obama, you mean?
And that we continue to have under Trump.
No, we have two consecutive quarters of 3% GDP. What are you talking about?
2017 worse than 2016 in terms of economic growth. Look at the statistics and don't.
Okay, when did Obama have 3% economic growth for 2 consecutive quarters? Go.
It's per year,
Zero.
not per quarter.
Never had it. Well, he never had 2 consecutive terms, and this is without even tax reform.
Yes, but you're excluding February and March, which were bad, which were not
that was coming off
good.
the Obama years. I mean, we were
Wait a minute.
right out of the Obama
Trump claims
years.
credit for the for the stock market increase that occurred before he took the oath of office, but he won't take credit for the economy after he took oath of office.
So you actually
did he become president in November? Did he become president in January? Did he become president in April?
I'm just trying to understand this. So the tech industry in northern part of your state, Northern California, is booming. Record corporate earnings. Consumer confidence soaring, trade deficit down, which Democrats used to like.
Trade deficit is hugely up. It's been going up. It's 10% higher than it was last year.
Month to month, the trade deficit for the first time in years is actually starting to contract.
Wrong.
And we actually have a president who's going to do trade work now, which you agreed with when you were with Bernie Sanders.
He
finally
talks
doing trade
loud and does nothing. He's done nothing except kiss up to Xi, and we have every single month he's been in power, we've seen the trade deficit with China grow.
Well, of course it's going to grow until we actually put tariffs on Chinese goods.
Well, he's not going to do it.
Well, I certainly hope we do. Molly, on this issue of, let's move on to Rex Tillerson. I thought it was interesting when I asked the president, is he going to be with you for the duration? He kind of, we'll see. And he didn't really want to confront the issue of the positions in the State Department, which are still not filled, with his own nominees.
Right. It is true that he kind of hedged a bit on that, but he always hedges when people ask about Rex Tillerson, and there have been rumors about Rex Tillerson departing since Rex Tillerson came. They continue to talk. They've got this big trip planned. I think it's premature to look for his departure. Of course, no Secretary of State lasts the
but I've got to say, I think after 360 days, there's a federal rule that a career person can assume a position after I think it's 360 days of an empty position not filled. That's actually going to work against the president if those positions don't get filled. That's what I'm worried about. Congressman, on the issue of the Democrats today and where the Democrats are going, obviously resist Trump. We get that. Resist his agenda. We understand that. But you were with Bernie Sanders, who I actually really admire in many ways for his stance for the working people. I don't agree with some growing government part of it, but I like the fact that he was out there fighting for what he believed in. And I think he had more integrity in his positions than the Clintons had in their entire political career, frankly. So on this issue of the working class, what will the Democrat Party do to disentangle itself now from the old Clinton Wall Street ties?
Well, I and Bernie Sanders have our bill to break up the big banks because too big to fail is too big to exist. We need a trade policy that doesn't just talk big and act like you're going to do something.
Well, did Obama renegotiate NAFTA like he promised he would at the beginning of his campaign? He said he and Hillary both said we're going to go renegotiate NAFTA.
Obviously, that wasn't done, but NAFTA hasn't been renegotiated.
Well, they're doing
either.
it right now. That's what they're doing.
Let's see if they do anything.
They're talking.
The trade deficit
more than
has
Obama
grown.
ever did on trade.
The trade deficit with China has grown every month.
It's grown every year for the last 16 years. Yes,
that's actually not true, but it has grown every month.
Since they joined the WTO, which month didn't it grow? Every single month it grew.
No,
every single year.
There are some
$360 billion last year.
Yes,
it's a huge amount.
Right, and it's bigger now per month than it was last year. And we've done nothing but kiss up to Xi and basically let him know that he can.
Well, we have a North Korea problem as well. Chain migration, DACA. Will it be part? I thought he was most passionate today about the DACA issue, and he wants this chain migration done. And it looks like there's some traction on this.
There's actually really good opportunity because so many people on opposing sides want things done, whether it's taking care of the delay, making it permanent for the people who are brought here as children, but also there's so many problems in what we've learned just even this week with the visa lottery system that nobody thinks is a good idea and needs to be taken care of. Chain migration. Just in general, we have an incoherent immigration policy that has been left to chance when it makes total sense, if you care about the American worker, the security of the nation, that you would have a policy that makes sense where you bring people in based on how they'll be able to earn a living and their English language skills and their track record of success. That's something you owe to working class people and the entire country.
It's amazing, Congressman, that one person, if the number that President Trump cited is correct, one person who's brought here on a lottery visa can then act as a magnet of sorts for his or her family members, and it could be mother, father, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, who have no connections to the United States except for that lottery winner. So one person could bring in 10, and then those 10 can also bring in each of them. It becomes this web of chain migration, and that is what has exploded immigration in the country. When you look at the chain migration, when I think the president is right, that until this became kind of a recent issue, not that many people were talking about it.
Well, and immigration is great. And if you look at, other countries like Canada and Australia that do it based on merit, it's not about the numbers even per se, although you can have debates about that, but just the quality of people, how they are brought in and how they work with the people who are here.
Chain migration is not new to discussion. They used to use the term anchor baby, which is the same issue. It's just a different marketing term.
Well, that's
one's dealing with the immediate family and one's talking about the extended.
No, we're talking about aunts, uncles, grandmother, grandpa, second cousin twice removed.
In any case, what we need is comprehensive immigration reform. I supported it. 8 Republican senators supported it.
It was a disaster.
And
it was one of the biggest scams, and it's one of the reasons George Bush's popularity plummeted in the last 2 years of his time in office.
And what we have now is a complete nonsense immigration system where people in my district live in fear. They're part of our community.
What about the fact that 20% of your prisons are illegal immigrants? Does that bother you? 20% of California prison inmates are illegal immigrants. What a nightmare that is for your taxpayers in your state. Don't you feel any sense of obligation on that issue?
I would have to check that figure out.
Are you shocked that you didn't know that?
That's not a figure I'm familiar with. I will have to check it.
The state is a sanctuary state, correct?
I'm one of the few Democrats that comes on Fox every time somebody turns to me with a figure. Often they turn out to be wrong.
No, I love the fact that you, Congressman, I love the fact that you come on, and I really appreciate the fact that you're willing to exchange ideas on all these topics, because frankly, there are a lot of Democrats who won't, and I don't think that helps them, and I don't think it helps the country. I think it's really good that you mix it up.
I'm happy to be here, and the comprehensive immigration reform will at least provide for E-Verify. It will provide for more effective border enforcement. It involved the abolition of the lottery. So there are a lot of things in there that you agree with. But we cannot turn to people who have made their lives in the United States at the invitation, really, of our employers, at a time when we deliberately didn't try to.
The American workers are obviously the most important focus that you have as a congressman. And the American citizens, not illegal immigrants. You don't represent illegal immigrants, do you?
I represent a community that includes people.
But voters who are the constituents, right?
I don't fail to represent somebody just because they're a legal immigrant and they can't vote yet.
So you actually say that you're a representative of a legal immigrant?
There's a big problem with the failure to understand rule of law and its importance.
The Constitution is very clear. I represent all the people who live in my district counted by the census. And the census allocates members of Congress and representation based on everyone who lives there. Excluding, I think the term is Indians not taxed. And we haven't had that since the Great West.
This is why Trump won. I'm sorry. I mean, I think people just feel so hammered by the government. Like, people just like middle-class workers who are American citizens. Like, is anyone like representing me? Or are we just worried about like, the DACA kids who are 35 years old?
Laws are important, and we work together as people, and we have a shared set of laws, and we need to make sure that we enforce those, and that we have, if we decide to change them,
change the laws. Just let everybody come across the border and have no border. I mean, we should just change the law and like have no border at all. And then
obviously, that's not what I support. But when we had a system in the 90s that welcomed people with a wink and a nod at the request of Wall Street, you cannot then deport those people 20 years ago.
It wasn't just investment bankers who wanted. There were a lot of people who wanted cheap labor. But it's great to have a great conversation with both of you. Thank you so much. Up next, Michelle Obama delivering some harsh words for men for being entitled and self-righteous, but she may need some redirecting. Stay tuned. Turning boys into men in a politically correct world. That's tonight's angle. At the first annual Obama Foundation Summit in Chicago, former First Lady Michelle Obama assumed the role of social scientist as she warned women not to spoil the men in their lives.
It's like the problem in the world today is we love our boys and we raise our girls, you know? We raise them to be strong, and sometimes we take care not to hurt men. And it's powerful to have strong men, but what does that strength mean? You know, does it mean respect? Does it mean responsibility? Does it mean compassion? Or are we protecting our men too much so they feel a little entitled and a little, a little self-righteous sometimes?
It seems that Mrs. Obama was making kind of a veiled reference to the myriad sexual harassment allegations that have rocked Hollywood, the business world, and media companies. As for her claim that the world is dangerous for women, that's kind of a bit of an overstatement, at least for women in the United States. But regardless, Michelle is right to this extent. Women do, at times, protect their men too much and enable their abusive behavior. Hillary Clinton comes to mind, whom Michelle Obama enthusiastically supported in the last election. But was girl power really on display when Hillary attacked Bill's accusers, shamelessly trashing women who alleged against her husband some of the very same behavior that has been alleged against Harvey Weinstein? Remember the bimbo eruptions? And let's not forget that it took the Obamas and the Clintons 5 days to find the words to condemn their friend and their campaign bundler Weinstein in written statements.
People who never spoke out before having the courage to speak out just clearly demonstrates that this behavior that he engaged in cannot be tolerated.
Okay, took a while. And I'd be more willing, by the way, to listen to Michelle Obama's advice on child rearing and the sexes if she had herself not enabled the ultimate enabler, Hillary Clinton. And that's the angle. To talk about the Democrats' phony moral outrage over sexual abuse, we're joined by one of Bill Clinton's accusers, Juanita Broderick, and Christina Hoff Sommers, an American Enterprise Institute scholar who studies politics and gender and feminism. In her classic book, The War Against Boys, kind of went into a lot of what boys face in society today. It's great to see both of you, Juanita and Christina Hoff Sommers. Christina, I'm going to start with you. Unpack what Michelle was talking about there, the former First Lady, about it's a dangerous world for women and we kind of protect our men. What was she getting at there?
And then also saying that men grow up to be entitled. We're raising our little boys to be entitled and self-righteous. It's so much the opposite is the case. In schools, boys face a rather hostile environment. They're far less likely to get good grades to go to college, and we need to address those problems. And I don't see entitled little boys. I see many, many neglected boys. I'm thinking maybe she was just speaking off the cuff and wasn't thinking, because it just, she evinced such sort of hostility towards little boys and the men they become. And I think it's a problem that people will take the worst case male and then project that into the entire male population, including little boys. And this is something that's done by sort of hardline feminists.
And we're raising boys to be strong, but what does that mean? And I mean,
we should raise them to be gentlemen. That's
of course.
Sure.
But the thing that was kind of left out of that conversation was really fathers and an intact family, which is so important for children. I mean, I'm a single mother, believe me. I know it's not ideal. I mean, it can be fine, and it's admirable for women to do. It's really tough, and it's admirable. But without fathers, it's a lot harder.
Well, sociologists, experts from the right and the left have come together. It's the one thing they agree on is the importance of fathers in the lives of, particularly sons. Broken families take a higher toll on young male development.
Absolutely. And Juanita, I want to go to you on this issue, because when you listen to Michelle Obama and she talked about protecting men who, clearly talking about men who are not behaving, of course it came to mind Hillary Clinton, the ultimate enabler of a man's abusive behavior. Remember the bimbo eruptions, what you allege she said to you all those years after your allegations that Bill Clinton sexually assaulted you back in 1978, and yet Michelle Obama is talking about how bad it is to protect abusive men.
Oh, I know. It's absolutely ridiculous. And all I can say is if Michelle Obama truly thinks and believes in the statements that she made, thank goodness she didn't raise boys. And I have no idea what part maybe Bill Clinton's mother played in his influencing his life, but I do know that he hid behind the skirt tail of Hillary Clinton. She went after us with a vengeance. I mean, and declared us the bimbo eruption. This woman has no conscience whatsoever.
And Juanita, from all these years later, does any of this surprise you? The Weinsteins and the Clintons come out 5 days later after Harvey Weinstein allegations, one after the other surface, and
no,
it took. I was like counting how many days is it going to take for both the Obamas and the Clintons to come out with a statement. And pretty much all these people were coming out except the close friends.
I know it's absolutely ridiculous, Laura, that they waited that length of time to come out. They were close to Weinstein. I can bet you that they knew exactly what was going on in his territory.
It's hard to believe, Christina, by the way, that Bill Clinton, who's as sophisticated as he is, and Hillary Clinton, who's supposedly as smart as she is, they didn't know what even I knew or had heard about Harvey Weinstein going all the way back to 1997. But they were saying, never heard of anything like this.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of enablers, and, there's hypocrisy.
What do you think about the whole Hollywood? I'm going to get into that later, but one incident after another. It's just all 1 second. The Hollywood spectrum. They're always wagging their fingers, moralizing about recycling and global warming and the environment.
Yes, the moralizing and while allowing this to go on and really not taking. People knew about it. There were no efforts to control it in some way. And hopefully it will change. My only worry is that we're going to go from indifference to sexual predation into a kind of vigilantism.
Exactly.
Because I saw a few days ago, there was an article in the Washington Post by someone that was indignant about George Bush Sr. He had touched in his wheelchair at 93. He had just touched someone, and she spoke about a toxic environment, and so suddenly again all men are implicated in the crimes of.
I'm just worried. I'm worried now. You're right, and Juanita and Christina, that you can't even tell a woman, well, you look great today, or I love your outfit. Like, men are going to be afraid.
They're going to be afraid to say anything because
now we've gone to a sterile work environment.
Extreme opposite.
That makes everything unfun. So there has to be a middle ground of just treating each other well and treating each other with respect.
Kindness, respect.
Yes, courteousness. And Juanita, thank you for joining us. Christina, thank you so much for joining us. And up next, President Trump sounds off on the depraved state, yes, of Hollywood, and now it's vile hatred of him. That's moments away. And welcome back. Hollywood, media, and the music industry are awash in revelations of sexual misdeeds and alleged crimes. And now they've taken things a step further. Now they're depicting the death of the president. This is the cover of Snoop Dogg's latest album. I guess he's not cooking with Martha Stewart the whole time, which I refuse to name. And the toe tag on the flag-draped corpse reads, of course, you can see it, Trump. Now, I asked the president today about the Hollywood attacks on him. There are other images out there that aren't nice to see, that are being put on album covers, put on magazines, late-night TV. Hollywood depravity in our children. How big of a problem do you think it is?
Well, I think Hollywood depravity, period, is not only for children, for everything. I look at what's happening with that. And frankly, if they said some of the things about Obama, you would have people, politically correct people, say, oh, you can't say that. But with me, it's allowed. I think it's disgraceful. but we power forward.
Joining us now for reaction is Raymond Arroyo, New York Times bestselling author of the Will Wilder series and a broadcaster. Raymond, they've really hit an all-time low. I mean, Snoop Dogg, I mean, well, he's so 1990s, first of all. I mean, I know he's, Mr. Pothead. He loves smoking pot and cooking with Martha Stewart on their TV show. But this really is so low. I almost didn't even want to show
Well, he's done this before. This is not the first time. In March, you'll remember in that music video, he had a gun to the head of the guy with the clown mask on.
Oh, yeah.
And this is nothing new. He should stick to the quinoa muffins with Martha. He's safer there, and the Republic is safe. But, here's the problem. We remember when President Obama was still president, there was a rodeo clown who had a mask on. You're the radio clown. This is the rodeo clown. And President Obama's mask was on him. They banned him for life from the rodeo.
Oh yeah. Look at him, the poor guy. He weren't people in the stands though saying they wanted the rodeo clown to get run over by
do you want to see the president run over by a bull? And they all cheered.
That wasn't nice.
That's horrible. Look. Whether it's right or left, it's wrong. Here's why. It plants these murderous ideas into the minds of young people or sickos out there.
I didn't like the mask on the rodeo clown, but banned for life? I mean,
I don't like anybody threatening in images, toxic images, the death or the maiming of an individual, whether it's a president or anybody else. But when it's a president, we really should work.
But the Obamas had a lot of these rapper types in and out of the White House, right?
Common and
Drake and
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z. I mean, you go through the lyrics of Jay-Z. Yeah. Jay seems like, he's really mainstream. Then you go through some of his lyrics, like, whoa, like back that off. I don't want.
Not exactly Rodgers and Hammerstein.
No, not exactly. And then Alec Baldwin, doesn't he have I guess
he's got a parody book coming out, satire.
He has been dining out on is even dining out on the impersonation of Trump.
It's not a great impersonation.
It's a lousy impersonation.
Well, he's on the toilet. There's a scene where he's on the toilet in the book, and I don't think we can show the picture.
No.
Aren't you sad about that?
No, we're not.
No, but it's ridiculous. But again, it's demeaning, it's degrading, and it bespeaks something about the people.
Why are they so obsessed with Trump? What is it about this Hollywood industry that has its own problems, which we'll get to? But why are they so steeped in this hatred for
You know
Trump?
what part
worse
of it is?
Than Bush, much worse.
Because he came from their media world. He was a reality star. He was someone known and famous like they are. And I think, well, I know this from talking to some actor friends. Some of them say, what does he have that I don't have? Well, he understands the people. He went out and spoke to them. He reflected their wishes and aspirations.
He's smarter.
And he won election.
And he's smarter than you are. I'm sorry, but this idea. Let's talk about
he did build a few businesses.
Yeah, a few businesses. Sexual abuse with Weinstein, now Kevin Spacey, Dustin Hoffman. You start to ask, is there anyone who wasn't involved either as a victim or as a predator in sexual abuse in Hollywood? And the Kevin Spacey thing just keeps getting worse and worse. He's a gay man, predatory behavior against low-level
House of Cards employees.
And now the House of Cards is falling. I mean, where are we on this?
You know, the art that a person creates, I think, reflects the heart of that person. And what we're seeing are a lot of really dark hearts. Now, some of us who've been watching these movies and these television shows for years.
What are some of the worst?
Well, which just came out. There was a movie, Mother, that Darren Aronofsky did, which has horrible people ripping hearts out, brutality.
Yeah. Django Unchained won all the awards.
When you put those kinds of violent images out, it comes from someplace.
And directly ahead, thank you, Raymond. Directly ahead, it may be Friday night tomorrow, but we've got an exclusive that you're not going to want to miss. We'll explain right after this, and it rhymes.